Joining me today is a very special guest, Canadian multi-award-winning director and writer, Stephen Wallis. Stephen is here to talk about Martini Shot and his latest film and other projects. And welcome, Stephen. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today.
Yes, the Martini Shot. Now, tell us about the title. Like maybe some of us don't know what that is.
Yeah, the Martini Shot in film terms is the last shot of the day. And you know, in our film, Matthew Modine plays a character who may or may not be God, and he thinks he's dying, and so he wants to make his last movie. So essentially, he's creating his own Martini Shot, and that's what we wanted to try to discover.
Yeah, I love it. I love the title. And Stephen, is that you playing the role of Modine?
Yeah, well, it's funny because I was very ill, just before, right around the time I wrote that, where they thought I was terminal for a little while. And so I wrote the film actually thinking it was going to be my last film. We actually shot it thinking it could be my last film. And life, and I almost died, I guess, about 4 months afterwards. But what was interesting about it was that, that movie almost gave me life. It allowed me to talk about themes that had to do with life and death and how I wanted, in a lot of ways wanted to be remembered. And so I intentionally gave the Modine character, my name, just largely because I wanted it to, a little meta, but just wanted to try to explore those things, along with him. And this movie has given me nothing but, an amazing, kick to keep on going and keep fighting the battle.
Yes. And how did you, figure out the cast? Like, how did you know that Matthew Modine was the perfect character that he wanted him to play you?
Yeah, well, I had met Matthew a couple years before. We had talked about, working together on another film, and he's one of those guys that just has incredible kindness. There's very few actors that you would actually want to be God, and since he's God in the film, I felt I needed somebody who could show that kindness and that hope for humans to succeed, and he's like that, and so he was a natural choice for me, and he loved the script. I can remember at the time he said he would only do it if we promised not to change a word. Your actor does that, but he was phenomenal, and I think most people, including himself, think it's probably his best performance in his career. He really creates something different and special in it.
Yeah, and congratulations on so many awards. Best Actor, Matthew Modine, and Director, Best Director yourself. And I mean, like, how does it feel to, win so many awards? And I guess more are coming.
Yeah, it's been gratifying. I never really did the film, festival circuit in the past because they can be a little cheesy, and and some of our bigger known Canadian festivals are known to be a little sleazy and how you get in and how you win and stuff. And so we decided that we were just going to try to do festivals that we knew had a lot of quality and had a lot of integrity. And so we started doing them, and yeah, we've done really well. Like, I think we're up to 9 Best Pictures and 8 Best Actors and 6 Best Directors. And I think we've won another 18 awards or something past those ones, and it's been really exciting because we're not the typical type of film that you see. We're very avant-garde, in a lot of ways, and I think that by showing these things to audiences and seeing the response for it, it does show that independent film, can be successful if you actually put it up on the screen for people to watch. Because we get people weeping at our, at the festivals. And we've been incredibly lucky. Some of the festivals have had like 500-600 people in it. It's like, we're playing in front of these crazy big crowds, and the response is always, 2-3 days later, we're getting people finding our emails and sending off notes and stuff. It's really been an amazing experience, and also getting to hang out with Matthew a lot is great, because he's just one of those, sweet actors, and and it's so nice to see a guy who, it's got 40 something years of filmmaking and in some of the biggest movies of all time, and and he's not been given kind of that kudos that he's getting on this film, in the past. So we're really happy for him.
Mhm. Well, the movie is deep. It has, I like to say, elements of comedy. With John Cleese, for example.
Mhm.
So it offers something for everyone. Correct?
Yeah, for sure it does. Yeah, it's I tend in most of my films. I like I used the line before, but I like sometimes having comedy in the darkest moments,
Yeah.
and some darkness in the funniest moments, and and I've been very lucky having a bit of a relationship with John. In that John and I wrote a film that shoots next year called Cut the Peter, and so he and I have kind of this similar sense of humor, and so he was the perfect guy to bring in. He's such an amazing guy to work with. He's just kind of a big bundle of joy, and it was interesting because I'm a fairly tall guy. I'm shade under 6'3", and both Cleese and Modine are over 6'4", and so
Wow.
it's really one of the first times where I was like the shortest guy. But we did try to make it funny. We tried to make it human as much as we could. I find that audiences will be drawn to characters that enjoy, like that are funny, that are witty, and so I try to have as much of that as I can. Even our scary films, we try to put a little bit of that in.
Yes, I mean, and it was a process making a film, of course. But when did this start? And was it filmed in Ireland? Is that correct?
Yeah, it was filmed in Ireland a few years back, because we took some time off because COVID was a bit of a pain in the neck, and I was quite ill for a while, and so it's kind of, in a lot of ways, that kind of helped us, because it allowed it to kind of marinate a little bit, and for me to take a little bit of time of choosing what I wanted and how I wanted to do it, and so it was great. And shooting in Ireland, I would recommend it for any filmmaker. You literally can point the camera in any direction, and it's beautiful. Like it's amazing, and the crews are great, and the food is, but the rest of it's pretty good, and yeah, it was a wonderful experience.
Mhm. Well, it's like, was it in Limerick? Is that correct?
We
In
shot most of
Ireland?
it, yeah. We shot most of it in Limerick, Shannon area, which are kind of
Yeah.
like cities that are right beside each other, kind of like Toronto, Hamilton. And
Mhm.
we shot at the famous cliffs, which are a little bit outside there, and but most of it was shot there. In fact, a large part of the movie, probably about 70%, was shot in a castle park, which which is used for, which has castles, kind of big stores, churches, all kinds of stuff. We just kind of, I don't think anyone's ever used it for that purpose, And I lived in Ireland for a year and a half at one point, and I remember going to it thinking, oh, we could probably shoot almost everything here, and they were incredibly accommodating and very helpful, and they kept people away from us. Each day we kind of moved to a different part of the park, and it was great. It was nice to be able to have such a calm place to shoot.
Yes, and to get the right shot too, right? I mean, um, there's darkness, but yet there's light, and as I said, it offers, people can take away from the film what they felt like. But what do you want people to get from the film, like overall, Stephen?
I want people to, to think about, I think I grew up with two very religious families, and things can be very this is the way it is. And, and our, Matthew's character, and again, I call him God, but he may or may not be God. He's certainly powerful in his own way. But I wanted to have it where he was fallible. He had, he was very much like the humans that he created, that he's got the same worries, he's got makes the same mistakes, that he's not a perfect entity. And I think too is that if we look at life as a kind of a learning, experience, I think we'll be all a little bit more patient with, people. We've created kind of a world now that is angry and vicious, and not necessarily fun for people to be born into. But that's really not probably what our purpose is, So, one of the things I like that we've seen people get from it is that they've people who have experienced loss seem to really, it's the film resonates with it. Matthew's character brings back a couple dead actors that he used to work with in the past. But a lot of audiences, surprisingly, in some ways, because I'm not sure if it was intended, but have taken it about the fact that he's learning to deal with the loss of people, and that he's, kind of learning that sometimes it's okay to let go, and which has been great, because it's like if people can, get that kind of feeling, that kind of emotion from a film, that's what we hope for and intended.
Can you tell us, or can you share some highlights, like some funny moments or a funny moment?
We shot so quickly, it was so hard to tell, and I was so sick. I don't know if I remember too much funny stuff. I do, I do remember on day one, the first day we actually had to shoot in London rather than Ireland. We had one because John Cleese was only available there, and we wanted him, and so we went down and we shot, and and it was kind of fascinating, because when you go into a film on the first day, you got two legends. They're the only two characters playing. It can be a little intimidating, and but it was great, because like when you're working with real pros, they just kind of, they want the scene to succeed too. There's no ego to it. And I think that, those are the kind of things that I take from it. I take the kindness that was there, the fact that, that I was very, very lucky with this cast, which all got along very well. They all loved each other, a ton. They're all still in touch with each other. But we shot in 14 days.
Wow.
And so there's very few, like we didn't even have, you couldn't have even cut kind of a goof, kind of a goof reel at the end of this, because even though you have all these people who are comedians in it, because nobody made mistakes. Like there's no bad take with Cleese or Modine or Eric Jacoby. They didn't make mistakes. Like everyone got every word right every time, and sometimes sometimes you get blessed by something, whatever it is, the universe or something. And it just felt like there was a guiding hand on the film that we were able to, because I don't think any of those actors, because those actors are all, pretty big, and they're not used to shooting in 14 days, the whole feature. They're used to, Matthew, did Oppenheimer, kind of right afterwards, I think. And they shot for months. It's like it's a big difference than shooting in essentially 2 weeks. But those are the things that I take from it the most. Certainly shooting 6 feet from the cliffs with no guardrail was a fascinating experience. Sure.
And Stephen, where can people see the film next?
Well, we're going to still continue the circuit on these festivals until October. In Canada and the States, we're going to be out in November. The date's still to come over the next couple of weeks, largely because there's a big push for Matthew to be in consideration for Golden Globe and even Oscars. So, we're a small film for those things to happen, but they're kind of holding on to trying to put it as late as they can. just because we want to kind of get out, the film scene kind of in that award season between kind of November and, the end of December. So I think they're going to see how we do in the next few festivals. And we'll either be out in early November or at the very latest or early December.
Yeah, well, congratulations again. And Stephen, can you share what's next for you?
Yeah, we actually have a huge slate of films that are about to shoot. So we're shooting like literally 3 films this fall. And so we'll be shooting a movie called The Writer's Block with Barbara Hershey and Grant Green and Ron James, the Canadian album. And we have a couple of writers. And then after that, we do a movie called A Voice at the End of the World, which has movies with lyrics stories, it's really terrific. Then after that, we go to Paris and we shoot a movie called The Splendid Thing, which he's coming along again on that one. We've developed a really good relationship with him, and we're actually literally today doing casting on the list of that. So literally, I'm going to be shooting for about 3-4 months nonstop, and then maybe we'll take a holiday.
Maybe take a holiday.
Yeah.
Take a holiday.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, it's so wonderful, and I'm just so excited to speak with you today, Stephen. And is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I would love to make sure that, I'm a big fan of independent cinema, and I find that a lot of people talk about wanting to see it, but they don't do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can, reach out to Cineplex and other, theater and start asking for, real films, ask for Canadian. Because, and as you know, like Canadian films get almost no distribution in Canada, like that. And we're going to be very lucky to, to have that. But there's a lot of films that don't. And so I try to encourage everyone all the time because I see the response at our movie, and with 600 people, in one city and 450 in North Carolina. Like when you're getting those kind of numbers in those kind of areas, we're doing better than superhero movies. Our response is better than superhero movies. But people don't know that because they have to see these movies on a little screen on the streaming services rather than the big theater. And, so I would encourage every single person to send off 20 emails. You'd be surprised how few emails it takes for them to listen.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful. And Stephen, thank you so much again for being a guest on the show. And I would love for you to come back.
I would love to do that.
Joining me today is Canadian award-winning makeup designer Donald Mowat. And Donald is back on the show to talk about his work on Presumed Innocent, a thriller series on Apple TV. And I am so excited to speak with you, Donald, and welcome again.
Well, thanks so much. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, so you have such an established career, over 30 years, and I've read that you love what you do, but getting into Presumed Innocent, what attracted you to the series?
Well, I think like a lot of people, show business is changing. Movies are fewer and fewer, and I'm not going to lie. I mean, I think that with fewer films being made, with more people watching limited series and people sort of in front of the box, so to speak, I get it. People want to see quality television. I thought, well, I do too. I stay home and watch TV. I watch these shows. I'd like to work on something that I would watch. I like to work on films that I would go and see. When this presented itself and Jake Gyllenhaal called me and said, hey, Dee, what do you think about working on this? He had never done television. I had. When I heard about the cast with Ruth Negga and Bill Camp and Renata, I thought, yeah, I'm in. I knew there'd be interesting makeup because it's very based in reality, and we have a whole kind of whodunit, which of course would involve some interesting makeups. It was very interesting, and producers allowed me to put together a makeup and hair team for this project. I was in, absolutely.
Yes, and you've worked with Jake before, right, on Prisoners? Is that correct?
Many times. So I think it just timed that he was producing this, and I had met Ruth Negga once before. I was, big fan of her work from Loving and a number of other things. And Renata Reinsved's seen in The Worst Person in the World. I think she's sort of Norway's biggest or best export in acting since, Liv Ullmann. So I was a huge fan, and we had all these great people involved. And so I thought it was a great foray for me back into television.
Yes, and it's nothing like the community, right? And you work well together. And I wanted to ask you now is, what was the process like when designing a makeup look? Like, take us through. Like, it must depend, correct?
Well, I think the way I approached it was, I really approached it kind of give them with my crew, with the entire makeup and hair crew. We delivered feature quality makeup for a television, limited television special. They're mini films, if you will. So whether it's, the specialty sort of the autopsies and bodies and right down to kind of the lighting and the makeup of, Ruth and Jake and all the different subtle makeups and the nuanced looks of people, we gave them feature film quality looks for television, which is something we don't get as often. And I think it just transitioned well. Yeah.
Yes, like ensuring the look, the skin tones, and there's different makeup for TV and movies, right? It's a different
that's changing
process.
Over the years.
Would it be?
I think it's a great question because in the old days, when I started, it was very definitively television was tended to be more picture perfect. Everybody was overly made up, maybe, or a little perfect, especially the Lifetime movies and things like that. But I think there's a sort of people are trying to, I would say people in television today, whether it's, HBO or Showtime or Apple, are trying to make films for television look exactly like films. They want the quality, the lighting, the art direction, the production design, the costume design to look like films. And I think having just said that, then they would like people who have experience making films. So there comes people like me. And that's where makeup, they want people who have a finer or softer hand maybe to come in and do these looks and work with actors who also are movie stars, like a Ruth Negga, who is an Oscar-nominated actress, or Jake Gyllenhaal, and the subtlety of that sort of thing.
Yes. Because being a makeup designer and makeup head and personal makeup artist and all that, so you're very important to the scenes as you're telling a story. And how much involvement did you have working on the Presumed Innocent series?
Well, I think that very early on I was consulted. We spoke in pre-production about having enough prep time, at least to make it look as authentic as possible within the confines of a smaller scale, of getting the right cast, of doing at least some testing, especially for things like the authenticity of the young people, of the kids, of Chase and Kingston, looking authentic, believable as teenagers of this couple, of Bunny, being the first person you see murdered, and recreating a crime scene, which, I really take a lot of pleasure, not pleasure in recreating a crime scene, but a great pleasure in doing my job in telling a story with the director and the cinematographer, of making this look authentic with my crew, with Molly and Ching and Karen, and, making it look like it is a crime scene. having done the research and working with the coroner to say, does that look right to you? And they go, yeah, that blood and everything looks really correct. That looks, I believe it. Creating the wounds, the prosthetics, having the correct Y incision for the autopsies, because people do watch it. And I do have friends that are physicians and nurses and people who go, wow, that looks really good. I believe that. And I take great pride in that.
Yes, and it's a research, right? It's not just, just sticking makeup on, obviously, but studying and the character and research and becoming like, yes. Well, and Donna, sorry, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
No, I was just going to say, but I think it's like anything, if you write a report or an essay or journalism, do a report, whether it's radio or television or a written report, and you take great pride in the authenticity or accuracy or originality. So it's no different. Or a person who teaches, or I think we all take pride in the work we do. And I think that when you're behind the camera as an artisan, you take great pride. I think a nurse takes pride in what they do, or a carpenter or somebody who builds or makes things. I think it's the same for us,
That's wonderful. And what do you enjoy most, or what on Presumed Innocent? What is it that you really enjoyed?
I'm so staggered by the reception that it's had, because it's not just some run-of-the-mill, it's coming on tonight. People are so excited by it, and I'm really taken by that, because here's a show that is taken from a film. I think the film was okay. I didn't think it was an amazing film. If I say my piece, it was okay. It was an all right film. That I think we actually did a better job with the television show, with a limited series, because you have that time, and you've got the whodunit aspect. I grew up on Agatha Christie, and I love all that. Like I still do.